Hello guys, my name is Vili, my actual name is Velisław. Since nobody ever introduced himself into this channel, I think I'm gonna break the ice and give a few words about me. Originally I'm from Bulgaria, I'm 33 years old now, and I live in United Kingdom for the past almost 5 years. And yet I'm gonna copy a little bit your style because I really like it. And I think it's rather more self-explanatory when people see pictures rather than just somebody talking behind the camera. And I'm gonna show my face as well in the next video. It's not like I'm hiding it or anything, but I just like the way you represent everything on the board, so I'm gonna kind of copy it. About the karma, I've been thinking a little bit. It's quite a sensitive topic, and whomever I explained what conclusions I came to, 99% of the people actually mocked me for a variety of reasons. Doesn't matter. So that's why I'm actually in this group, because I would like to see people that do not mock what I say and eventually later support my hypothesis or deny it. That varies, as you do know that what I'm about to say, it's personal opinion and it's very, very subjective. So that is up to you if you believe there is a piece of truth in that, no truth at all, or something near, or whatever. These are the conclusions that I came to after a few good years of researching all that karma, spiritual enlightening, and everything else surrounding it. And I do believe that I managed to put the pieces of the puzzle close enough so they kind of make sense. The information I'm gonna use is by the Urantia book that I personally read a few times, and Li Hongzhi, who's Chinese Falun Gong master. So these two sources of information are the ones that I truly believe and feel from inside that they actually close to the truth or something like that. So I'm gonna try to simplify the karma explanation as much as I can so it still makes sense and it doesn't sound completely ludicrous, which it will for most of you probably. This is my own hypothesis, so that's how everything works. When every person is being born on the planet, whenever that happens, usually there is no soul in your body by the time you as a person take your very first actual decision. That usually happens in between 3 and 5 years old for most of the children. Whenever you take your first actual decision on your own, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad or a lie or not or whatever. Whenever you do take that first decision is when... Oh, come on. So, as I was saying, whenever you take that first decision is when the soul actually comes to your body. The soul is called adjuster. Basically, it adjusts you. That's why the name is from the Urantia book. And I'm not gonna even go into this one because it's really quite deep. So, point being, karma is a protocol. From computers, you do know what protocols does. For whoever doesn't, I'm going to explain it briefly. Protocol is an automated program of some type that supervises that certain actions are allowed or not allowed. That's the base of a protocol. So karma is kind of like protocol, and that's how it works, what I'm going to explain you now. Karma is a protocol by Lord that supervises every human being. When you're born, you bring your karma from your previous wives with you all the time. That's why the samsara cycle of endless rebirth, that's how it continues basically. That's the whole point. It continues until you manage to clean your karma fully. So once your karma is being transferred to your body or something like that, I cannot explain it by any means, at some point, when you take your decision and your soul comes back, it brings back all the memories and everything from your previous existences, including your karma. But you have no access to all these memories for the sake that if you actually do remember all your previous existences, you will not be able to live a single life after so many rebirths, because your brain is gonna live into the past and going all through all the decisions and everything that you ever made in your previous lives, and basically you won't be able to live any further. That's why you have no memories of your previous life by any means. Some people do, but most of us do not. So point being, you start like a brand new reset of a computer, like a reinstalling Windows every single time. And when this karma gets to you, slowly but surely through your entire life, you repay the karma by suffering. Suffering can be achieved through many different varieties. For example, suffering is when you don't feel happy. Suffering is when you break your leg and you feel pain. Suffering is when somebody offends you. Suffering is everything that does not make you happy is considered on fundamental basis suffering. Therefore, the whole life of human beings being born here on planet Earth, point being, is to repay your karma until it reaches zero, and then you stop suffering, basically. How this process works is rather complicated, so I'm gonna go quickly over it. Why there is karma, point 2. That's a self-protocol that makes sure that every human being receives back what he seeded before that. What that means is that if you've done good in your previous life, you will be happy in your current life. If you accumulated karma in your previous life, that karma will follow you back in this life. Also, somebody might say like, why I don't get the karma repaid to me back after I do something bad straight away? Well, the answer is rather obvious and simple, because every time when you do something bad and a couple of minutes after that something bad happens to you, every single living person on this planet will know that there is God and that something watches over us. Therefore, they will not be doing bad deeds, not because of they are afraid of God and his punishment, but rather, well, because they are afraid of God, not because they actually want to follow him on their own free will. I hope that makes sense. Point being is that karma always comes back to you many years after you've done something, so you never know whom to revenge to. That's the whole point of it, because if you know and the karma comes straight away for after your bad deed to whoever you did whatever, you're gonna know that some kind of something triggered that, and it's that person's responsibility for bad things happening to you. Therefore, you're gonna go back and you might do some bad stuff to him in order to revenge. That's why the karma comes years and years and years after, and you never know what it's referring about in the past, so you can never follow and backtrack to go and ask for revenge. That's a very simple principle that took me several years to understand. I experienced it. I have experienced karma 100%. I've seen it in my life a couple of times with stories that if I tell you, you probably say they're not true, as funny as it sounds. That's the base principle of karma. So where karma is applicable? Karma is applicable to every living being that has consciousness. If you have no consciousness, you cannot have karma. Pretty simple. Simple examples: trees, grass, animals, they have pre-conscious They don't have actual consciousness like human beings because they don't have the soul. They have something that is called pre-consciousness. And because, now listen carefully, because they have no possessions of any kind. They have no cars, no computers, no phones, no possessions by any means. Therefore, they don't accumulate karma because they don't have any of the human feelings. They do have feelings, but they're kind of different type of feelings for different type of consciousness, well, pre-consciousness. That's why, for example, trees and grass and animals, I have no proofs, but I'm pretty sure they can actually see the other dimensions. And also they communicate through the ether field that is surrounding us, which I'm going to explain in a minute about. And that's why people that have no possessions, that gave up everything they ever had and turned to God in a way to become enlightened. There's multiple ways to do that. You don't have to become a hermit in the mountain and so on and so on. But point being is you have to let go of everything. Don't get the wrong idea. This doesn't mean that you have to abandon your children and your wife, your family and so on and so on. No, by any means, no. Point being is that when you do the meditation, you should not have thoughts in your mind about anything else but the meditation itself. That's why once upon a time people went to monasteries and so on, because they don't want to be distracted by all the social events, no matter what the era is and so on and so on. There was always social events. And one way or another, they actually drag you back to everyday society. That's why people went to become hermits up in the mountains and so on, not disturbed by social life and so on and so on. Who gets the karma? Well, that's pretty simple. Every single person that is on this planet has karma. You might wonder like how, why? Well, it's pretty simple. The fact that you have been born here on this planet means that you have karma. Here is where the counter space gives chance to everybody to cleanse their karma for the simple reason that this is the perfect conditions, because roughly 1 hour here, well, 2 hours on the planet Earth, time-wise equals about, I believe, about 1,000 years in counter space. So basically, your wife is given to you in order for you to meditate here and cleanse your karma so you can go back to where you came from. I'm not sure about this part, if you came from above and you have been fallen, reborn, and then go back again, or there is a single cycle of rebirth and you've never been up there and you have to prove yourself worthy basically to get there. That's the other option. I'm not quite sure which one is it, so I don't want to deceive you, kinda. He who manages to cleanse his karma completely manages to unlock the ether field. He can see the ether field basically. And now that's what I wanted to explain you. This picture that looks very silly is Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. What I do think that it actually represents is the personal aura, which is karma, around every human being, and therefore is the circle and the 4 legs, well, the 2 additional legs and the 2 additional arms. The way I see this is to completely ignore the 4 limbs, well, the 8 limbs, and walk for the circle. Now this as I was saying, the Vitruvian Man, look at the circle. I do believe that this circle actually represents the aura around every single person, and it actually means that, well, no matter how much you stretch and whatever you do, you can never leave your personal inner circle, because that's where you've been born and that's where you actually hallucinate the reality around you. Basically, that's the principle. So the karma serves as an insulator that detaches you from the ether field that it's around you. What is ether field? Well, the ether field is spiritual energy that is invisible from our dimension, that surrounds every empty space in existence, including on planet Earth, what we call air, and we call it empty space. It's not empty space, it's actually full with ether. Same goes for outer space, pretty much. The entire empty space in space is ether. Well, it's filled with ether, basically cosmical energy. I'm not going to explain about that because it's going to get really, really complicated. And the other point is that no matter what you do, you cannot leave the circle that you're in. And as far as you do have some karma, the karma serves as an insulator, so it doesn't actually let the ether field to penetrate in you, basically to fill you up with its energy. Therefore, there is a thing opposite of karma that is called goodfulness. Goodfulness is on the down picture when you actually cleansed all your karma and your field is filled already with ether that actually penetrates your body and charges you and revitalizes you and gives you all them things that you heard and read about. So the more karma you have, your circle gets bigger or thicker. I'm not quite sure how the principle works, but the more insulated you are. The more you clean of that karma, the more ether you let in. So I'm going to explain you about the ether quickly and briefly. How to clean your karma. It's really simple process, and at the same time extremely complicated because it's very easy to be said and very hard to be done. Basic principle is this. Imagine two people fighting. I punch you. Every time when I punch you, with every punch, slap, or whatever I do to you or to hurt you, that hurt could be both mentally and physically. It doesn't have to be physical. It could be mental and you're still accumulating karma. Point being is, when I punch you, with every punch I inflict, pieces of my goodfulness, not karma, are being transferred to you with your goodfulness. And because universe works in principles of equilibrium, therefore for whatever I gave you, I should receive something with the same amount. But in that case, I receive back karma, not goodfulness. I give you goodfulness by punching you, and then to balance everything, I receive back karma. So basically it's 2 for 1. So every time when somebody punches you, he gives you karma, gives you goodfulness, and he gets back karma. That's the basic principle that can be applied. Every time you offend somebody, exactly the same happens. Every time you think of somebody in a bad way, exactly the same happens. Point being is, if you don't show that you're mean to somebody, but you still think it, fundamentally, you're still sinning and accumulating karma. Point being is that fundamentally from inside, you should not think bad stuff about pretty much anybody. And the whole point, if everything is perfect, we should kind of love everybody as they are our own children. Principle is really simple. I've seen it a few times working in my life, well, multiple times. And about the enlightenment, I forgot to mention that the ether field is the yellow energy. If you've seen pictures of saints, that all of them have that little circle above their heads, it's called aureole or something like that. I'm not sure about the English word. And that aureole represents that they have cleaned their karma and they have received ether in their field. And because the nature of this ether is kind of yellowish, orangish color, kind of, that's why all the saints in all the cathedrals and chapels all across the world, in every religion that has them, they have yellow. That represents that they have cleaned their karma and they actually have the goodfulness. That's when you become a wise person. You start seeing things into the future and so on and so on and so on. I'm not going to go into details about the soul, the ether, the karma. It's going to take another 7,000 videos probably. But this is the base principle. That's why that's why God gave us the 10 commandments. And the first one says, do not kill. Point being, this is the worst way of accumulating karma. There is multiple ways. I presume karma is personal, family-wise, society-wise, probably even there is a karma of the country and probably even karma of the planet. That's why when the planet does volcano eruptions, floods and stuff like that, basically for every person that the planet killed is kind of repaying back karma. At least that's what I think. Now, all this is subjective. You don't have to agree. That's my personal understanding of how things work, oversimplified million times, very oversimplified. It's not that simple by any means, it's far more complicated. And that principle, if you actually think about it, that's gonna give you an answers why people that have not done anything harmful to anybody in this present life, let's say a boy or child or somebody who never done anything bad to anybody, gets cancer or something really bad. Now there is a ways when you do get something bad because you deserve it, and there is a ways when you do get something bad because that's actually a test to test you and see how you're going to react in unforeseen circumstances, to see if you're going to still be good the way you are or you're going to become violent because you know your end of the days are coming. It's basically a test. It is the entire existence, entire life is a big test, because you come naked on this earth and you leave naked, basically. So the only thing that a superior being can judge you for your life, purely logically, is your deeds. Who cares if you have £1 million, £10 million, a yacht or a Porsche or a Ferrari? It doesn't matter if you crushed over tens upon people to achieve that. And that's what you're gonna be judged on. Not your words, not your wealth, not your fortune, your houses or anything like that. You're going to be judged on your deeds, because that's the only thing that actually matters through your entire life. I hope I didn't bore you with that picture, guys. Well, with that video and that silly picture. Ignore the little silly guy under, as I didn't want to spend another 20 minutes making these silly pictures. That is my personal opinion. All the materials and all the thankfulness should go to the Urantia book and Master Lehonze, as this is me interpreting the book and their words. That's not what they said precisely, and this is my own interpretation of everything. Thank you very much, guys.